I'm going to talk to you about digital roads, which is some work that we've been developing over the past couple of years in Highways England, and particularly work that is very sort of close to my heart in terms of a connected future. So up until February this year, I was head of intelligent transport systems at Highways England and responsible for running a number of connected and autonomous vehicle trials. I've now temporarily stepped up to cover the roads development divisional director role. So as well as intelligent transport systems, I've also got environment and road design in my remit, which I think is a great opportunity in terms of linking what might happen in the future together and making sure that we're taking account of developments in vehicle technology, environmental objectives, and making sure that we have good road design in there as well. So in terms of digital roads, well, what's that all about? Well, this is about making sure that we're making the most of the data, the technology and connectivity to improve the way that we design, build, operate and use the strategic road network in England. So that's the motorways and major A roads that we look after. And it's structured around three core themes which cover the kind of life cycle of what we do. So digital design and construction, digital operations, and the bit that really sort of resonates for me, specifically about my work, is around digital for customer. And I'll focus more in later on specifically about that in relation to connected services. So if we move to the next slide, I'm going to talk about the three different themes very briefly before I talk about connected services. So what's digital design and construction all about? So this is about, again, taking advantage of automation and developments in how we design and construct our schemes. So within safety engineering and standards, we've been revising the design manual for roads and bridges with an eye to digitising those standards, and that's really important in terms of how we design our schemes in the future, using digitised design standards, the opportunity that things like digital twins and digital design tools can bring us, in particular to drive efficiencies in how we do things, and also ensure that we make sure we're being consistent in how we operate our designs there. A particular area in this is around digital rehearsals. So there's real opportunity here to use those techniques to make sure that we are safely testing out what we're going to do on site, and then again make sure that how we're delivering our construction on site is done in a safe way, making advantage of the rehearsals that have happened in the past. And I also want to pick up on the use of connected and autonomous plants. So last June we launched the Connected and Autonomous Plant Roadmap, which is a roadmap to 2035. This was done in collaboration with a whole set of organisations, including academia, industry, suppliers and other government bodies, all forming this roadmap together. And I think this is a really good opportunity to look at how we can use that automation and the opportunities that arise from that in improving safety when we are constructing our schemes. So if we move to the next slide, I'm going to just quickly talk about digital operations. And again, this is about how we use data, helping us to improve our situational awareness across the network, and also helping us to better understand our assets out there so that we have more proactive asset management, and that enables that to feed through into our maintenance requirements and our activities out on the network. It also means that when we are responding to incidents, we've got a good understanding of what's actually happening out on the network. It means we can make sure we take actions in a timely manner, protecting customers involved in the incident, and actually longer term making sure that we're running that network as efficiently as we can with the events around us. I think, again, there's a lot of opportunities around digitally enabling our workers. Obviously, lots of things with technology on the sort of in the vehicles that we use, whether that's our maintenance vehicles or our traffic officer vehicles, and the use of dash cams and other telematic solutions to again help us understand what's actually happening out on the network in a real-time way. So just moving through to digital for customers, again, very much focusing on making sure that our customers are better informed and have trust in the information that they access. And this is really making sure that helping to support them feeling safe and being in control of their journeys. And that's making sure they've got, our customers have got information before their journey to enable them to plan their journey. The way that we could receive data from our customers during their journey, so in the event of an incident, or if they've had to stop at all at any point on the network. Also making sure that when they're using wayfinding services, that we are working with that industry to make sure that we're giving them the most up-to-date and accurate information. Working with third parties is really important in this, particularly in kind of that end-to-end journey support, making sure we're collaborating. So not just with the sort of wayfinding providers, but other local authorities and other organisations involved in that activity. And finally, really about making sure that our call centre colleagues have access to accurate information. So whether that's through our National Traffic Information Service or our regional control centres, that they're able to access the latest information, linking very much in with digital for operations and that enhanced situational awareness, again, making sure that they can operate the network and provide better customer service out there. So if we move to the next slide, so just thinking about digital roads in the future and what that might look like, both in terms of the road environment and thinking about the sort of customer experience as well. And you know, underpinning all of this are our imperatives. So safety is our first imperative, and you know, there are lots of benefits in terms of looking at digital roads, particularly again around that situational awareness, enabling us to respond better to incidents and events on the network, and again being able to sort of manage and control traffic in response to those, feeding very much through into the sort of whole customer imperative, which again helping customers plan their routes better and actually providing them better information pre and during their journey. And in terms of delivery out on the network, again looking at the future road scheme requirements, what do the road schemes in our sort of future road investment periods look like, working through RIS 3 and RIS 4 and making sure that we take advantage early enough on of technology developments to sort of implement that in the forward-looking strategies. And again, all of this has sort of come out of our Connecting the Country strategy, which we published in December 2017. So that was a really long-term vision through to about 2050, looking at how we connect the country. So this is about how do we safely move people and goods on our network, and particularly recognising the benefits and the trends that would be coming up in terms of mobility and connectivity in particular. So there's a huge number of benefits that we can realise from digital roads. Of course, you know, improving safety around better incident communication and alerts, opportunities around reducing congestion. So again, if we have improved situational awareness of what's going on the network, then we can take the control measures to respond to that. We can provide better information and wider information across the network to our customers. We can also make sure that we're working with other organisations. We talk about, you know, here ports, airports, all of which link to our network and to which our network provides a kind of backbone of connectivity. And you know, really making sure that deep down we are into understanding our customers and their needs and what that might look like. And one of the things that, you know, so again, really sort of stands out from all of this in the future is the potential to, you know, look at how we provide that service and the opportunities to meet some of our environmental objectives through reducing the need to install physical infrastructure out of the network, and the opportunities with reducing the amount of concrete that we use out there, and whether or not we've got opportunities to reinstate verges, and the potential biodiversity impacts that can have. So there's some real benefits with looking at this, and then it's really about how do we capitalise on this vision. So if we move to the next slide. So now I want to sort of focus in on connected services, and this is about how do we connect vehicles and people to the environment around them. So whether that's to other vehicles, whether that's to specific infrastructure on the network, very much sort of looking at vehicle to vehicle, infrastructure to vehicle, and everything to vehicle, and not limiting it to specific vehicle systems. So again, really looking at how do we work with the wider industry on all of this. We know from numerous studies that the types of benefits we can get looking at this type of connectivity. Obviously, some immense safety benefits, some real efficiency benefits as well by sort of following this route. And as I've said, for us as looking at Highways England's operation, where we can identify a way of, reducing the need for new infrastructure, particularly if we start to look at A roads and service levels. Again, that impacts in terms of road worker exposure, reduced maintenance, and so on. But also having a kind of connected environment can help us, again, support that provision of better customer information. So how we better manage the network, reducing the uncertainty in travel times, being able to predict better what might happen on the network in the future, and how, any when we have to put on diversions, how that will impact our network, but also local authority networks adjoining our network itself, and the opportunity to sort of communicate directly into the vehicle. And I'll talk a little bit more about that in a moment, but enabling messages to be sent and received directly, and then doing that in a timely fashion, again, enabling people to maybe make decisions earlier on, or even in a sort of thinking about an automated environment, enabling better information across all those different types of vehicles to make them operate more efficiently. So if we move to the next slide, I want to sort of step back a little bit in terms of looking at what we learned out of the first road investment period and what we're still learning through our trials in the current road investment period. So in the first road investment period between 2015 and 2020, we ran a number of connected and autonomous vehicle trials. All were part of a consortium running connected and autonomous vehicle trials. So, for example, we worked as part of a consortium with Nissan and the Connected Places Catapult on the Human Drive project, where Nissan ran an autonomous vehicle 230 miles on a number of different road types between Cranfield and the northeast, and we worked very sort of closely with them on that. We worked on at least sort of two particular connected environment trials. So UK CITI, which was probably the first one we worked on, based in the Midlands, where we worked with Jaguar Land Rover and a number of other organisations, looking at how we could replicate the information that people see on our road signs directly into the vehicle. So that's through our electronic road signs. And then taking the learning from that into the A2M2 connected corridor, where we worked with the Department for Transport, Transport for London and Kent County Council, looking at different types of communication technology and different types of services. So, for example, we looked at the opportunities that cellular connectivity could offer us, Wi-Fi-like connectivity, and services including roadworks warning, replicating the message signs in, and also looking at the green light optimization solutions on the Kent Road network as well. And we've also worked, or we're part of a consortium looking at freight platooning, again, very much that vehicle-to-vehicle connectivity. The learning from these trials, really underpinning all of these trials, is the safety aspect. So within Highways England, we have a safety risk assessment process known as GG 104, and this was something which we insist on happening. So anybody wanting to trial something on the strategic road network must follow this approach. And through our safety review groups were able to look at the assessment of these trials and across the business, and making sure that they're reviewed appropriately and assured correctly before these vehicles and these trials actually go out on our network. Another aspect we looked at was the sort of the user aspect of that, particularly on the A2M2, the user insight of receiving different kinds of information and how they felt about it, both before and after the trial. As I've said, we've looked at different types of technology, so particularly the communications technology that we used. And then finally, that whole piece about evaluation, it's really important for us that we are looking at the learning we're getting from the trials and the evaluation that we are taking away from that, and making sure that we're then sort of taking that through to support our sort of wider initiatives. So that leads me very nicely to the next slide, which is our, and this is work in progress. This is work that we're developing at the moment, but it's very much part of the Digital for Customers work stream of the Digital Roads vision. So this is around connected services. So taking all the learning from the trials that we've done and the trials that we are continuing to do with others in Road Period 2, we've identified 5 core sort of focus areas. So the first one is around you know, what are the drivers for a connected environment? So I've talked about digital roads, and I've talked about things like the benefits realization around that. But a really big piece is around the customer service and the customer insight piece. So what do customers want from a connected environment? And what do they want it to sort of look and feel like? And again, there's a really big safety piece and consideration as part of all of that. And there's another piece about who does what part of that information chain, and I'll talk about that in a moment. Mapping itself is a really big piece around this. So one of the things in terms of providing, you know, replicating what you see on signs into vehicles is how accurate can we be in terms of the positioning of that data and the stamping of that piece of information. So at the moment, some of our network maps, they are only accurate to within, say, 3 meters. So, for example, if we were trying to put lane-specific information into vehicles, or at least providing that for third parties to take, there's a risk then that anything in the outside lane of one carriageway could be presented as being in the outside lane of the opposite carriageway, and clearly that's not acceptable. So there's lots of things that we want to look at as part of some work. Again, working with our colleagues in our IT department, looking at that whole mapping side of things. Technology, as you won't be surprised, is a real core element of this, particularly around what communications method could we use, what's the optimal, this whole thing about cellular versus Wi-Fi, like actually which works best for us, and looking at the kind of business case behind that, and very much sort of feeding through to the digital operations side of it. So lots of opportunities around that, and then leading through, and probably this is one of the biggest areas, is around the data. And I think we've heard lots today about how data underpins all of this kind of work that we've been talking about. So what kind of data do we need? What are our system requirements? What, again, go back to the customer insight, what do customers need from this kind of service? What might the back office look like? And all of that piece, and actually the opportunities that we can achieve working with the industry in terms of a wider data collection, and how actually, where we don't, say, have physical infrastructure or physical sensors, there's opportunities to bring in data from third parties to widen our situational awareness. And finally, in terms of our focus areas, legislation and regulation is absolutely key to all of this. I talked about our safety governance, and we fed that through to work, for example, the Zenzik safety case guidance that has recently been released, and also we, as part of our response to the consultation on lane keep assist systems, we've fed in around that as well, particularly around the testing of these systems and making sure that if they are to be applied to the motorway network, that they have been safely tested in that kind of environment before they are permitted for use on that. And there is very much this issue of the chain of events. So whoever puts out the data, and then whoever receives it, and then the actions taken on receipt of that data, and making sure that that chain is observed and audited, and that the liabilities and the requirements and the legislation around that are really clear, so that there is no ambiguity as to who is liable at each stage in that process. We've also fed through to a lot of industry standards. So I saw today that the CAV, the BSI 1880 PAS 1882 is out, and we fed through to a number of those different PASs in the past. And then finally, just to sort of wrap all of this up, and again, you know, referring back to sort of something that Baroness Veer said this morning about you know, no one singular responsibility, it is a shared responsibility for safety on the road network, and our connected services roadmap and the development of that, and digital roads itself, and all the work that goes into that would not happen without being part of you know, partnerships and alliances to make sure that we're engaging with stakeholders and taking account of all the different needs. So stakeholder involvement, really important. And I always say in my presentations, collaboration is key. And I really, you know, I say that again because it is absolutely important. So that's a sort of very quick view of our digital roads vision, our digital for customers, and our developing work on our connected services roadmap. And thank you very much for your time and for listening today.